It's Desm 101, and I'm back with another review. This time we're talking about the Brook Controller Converters. And I have a few of these that we're going to take a look at and test a little bit. And first I'm going to talk about what they actually do, the differences between them, have a quick little unboxing, and then we'll test them out with a few controllers. Now, the first one that I got was last year, sometime at the end of last year, which was this Wingman Converter Sd, and the SD stands for Saturn and Dreamcast. And what it does is gives you the ability to plug this adapter into your Dreamcast or your Saturn, and you can use a USB interface or wireless interface to connect to a more modern controller. And now the main reason I got this was because the Dreamcast controller, while it does look kind of cool, it's pretty weird, but it is really difficult to use, especially with the D-pad. And I do have a nice arcade stick, a Sega Arcade Stick, but I wanted to be able to use a different controller with this. And so I had heard about the Brook controller adapters, and once I tested it out, I found out it works really good. Now, one thing you can see here is that at the bottom of the box it specifies what controllers you can use with it. So it says Xbox 360, X1, Xbox Elite 1, 2, PS3, PS4, and Switch Pro. So this one has the most compatibility out of these ones that I have here. And you can take a closer look on the back to see what comes with it and exactly which controllers are compatible. So they're not all the same level of compatibility. This one has the most. The most common one that I see between them is PS4 and PS3. Those seem to be the ones that work across all three different versions of this that I have. There is another one for Super Nintendo and NES, and I think it's more like this model here. And you can see the naming is a little bit different. This one's called the Wingman, while these ones are just called Game Controller Super Converters. And they come with a little bit different packaging between them. You can see here, if we look at the back of this one, it's a little bit different in the diagram and what you can do with it. Here in the corner, it's kind of hard to see, but it's got PC Engine and Sega Genesis you can connect to, but it only supports PS3 and PS4, or if you split it with the PC, you have to power it and you can use X input there. So one arcade stick that I like to use with it is this Mayflash arcade stick. It's an M300, I believe, and I've modded it with a custom stick, a Sanwa stick, and I really like that. I mean, it's not a super expensive arcade stick by any means, but it's PS3, PS4 compatible. It does have a switch for X input, and it works generally pretty good. So it's one that I like to use for these systems, specifically the Sega Genesis and the PS2. I do have arcade sticks for those, but not quite as nice as a feel as I like on this other one. So, really quick, I also want to mention that they have firmware updates. I haven't updated any of these, but you can check the manual and the firmware on the back there using these QR codes. But I went ahead and put the adapter back in this box so you can see how it looks when you open it. So they got these nice little tabs in here. Pull it out. And they also remind you that you've got the firmware and the user guide both there. So it doesn't come with any instruction manual. You do need to go to this link or look it up on Google. And pretty solid. This one also comes with an additional adapter. That's for that X input when you plug it into your PC if you need extra power to it. So not all of them come with that. And they all do come with these really neat little stickers. So I like stickers, that's pretty cool. And the build quality is pretty nice. So this one is the Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx 16. And it does match, so far everything that I've tested, it matches really well. Fits nice and snug into the controller ports. No issues there. And it's got this button for syncing. to the device. And there's your micro USB for updating and for power, and then there's your PS3, PS4. Some of them will have a little switch here to switch from X input or the regular PlayStation. So that's pretty much how they look and what they support. Let's go ahead and test them out. So I have a few controllers here. We have a third-party PS3 controller, and this one uses a USB dongle. So we'll try that out and see how it works. And I also have a DualShock 3 with one of those older USB inputs. And I also have a DualShock 4. So we'll try the devices with these and see how they sync up and let you guys know what I think. Okay, so first let's start with the Dreamcast, and I have the console already powered up. We have the PS3 controller. So what we're going to do is first run it in with the wired input into there. So you can see it is kind of bulky when it hangs out of the console, and it also has the additional plug for the Saturn. So it is a little bit tricky. Like, I don't really like how it looks just hanging out of there. It's kind of better if you maybe tuck it on the side like that. But let's go ahead. We'll plug it in now. Directly into the controller. So you can see this light flashed for a second, and then it stopped flashing. And also this light, the red one, was flashing when I turned it on. And once I connected it and turned on the controller, it stopped flashing. So, yep, it is responding to the, not sure if you can hear that, but the Dreamcast is responding to that. Let me bring the screen up. So directly plugging it in, and it worked. Okay. So what we'll do now is I'm gonna unplug it from there. So now it's not plugged into the controller anymore. And the GDEMU is loading right now. Okay. Yeah, so it still works. So whenever I hit the power or the button to wake it up, the home button, it connected, and now it's connected wirelessly. So if I go to the menu, to the screen, you can see it's definitely working. So what we can do is boot up Daytona, USA. So been racing for a while with the PS3 controller, and it works really great. The analog stick is a bit more easy to control than the one for the actual Dreamcast, so definitely an upgrade using this for the way to control this game. So next, let's test out this third-party PS3 controller. Just going to plug it in there to the USB port. It's a wireless controller, but it does use this dongle. Okay, so it looks like it's waiting for the device to pair. Alright, that looks like it's connected. Yeah. So it looks like this controller is working right away too. no problems there. Next we're going to plug in the Ps3 Arcade Stick. So it took it a second, but the light did come on. Yeah, so that is working. It's receiving that input. So yeah, that one worked right away as well. So another cool thing about the device is it supports hot swapping. So you can actually just remove a controller during gameplay or in between whenever you stop playing. If you want to swap to a different controller, you can just unplug it and it's nice and simple. It just starts looking for another controller. You can see the red light is flashing. And what we're going to do is use this little cable to plug in the PS4. So I'll just plug that into the back of the PS4 controller here. And we'll insert that into the Brook. It's a little bit of a tight fit. So yeah, it automatically came on. Alright, yeah, and it is receiving that input. So if I unplug it, okay, it turns off, but if I wake it up, it's paired. And sure enough, it's controlling the game. So with PS4 and PS3 controllers, it finds it really fast, and you just manually plug it in to pair it, and then once it's paired, you can just unplug it and turn on the controller, and it should find it right away. So pretty simple, pretty nice and easy. I don't have an Xbox Bluetooth controller, so it does say that this one specifically will support Xbox One controllers, but I don't have any to test it on, no Bluetooth controllers. But supposedly it'll also work, but not with all models of these. Okay, next we're going to do PS2. Turning the system on now, and here's the PS2 version. So this one does have a switch. On the left it's PS2, and the other side it's XID. And what we'll do is we'll try that third-party Ps3 controller. So this clear one. Alright. I plug it in. Okay, looks like the red light is on. That means that it's accepting the input. So let's wake up the controller. Okay, so it's vibrating non-stop, and the light just like stayed on. So it looks like this one out of the box, I might need a firmware update on the adapter, but this one, it is controlling it, so it's accepting the input, but it's freaking out. It's just like vibrating constantly, so pretty weird. But so it's a little bit not working out of the box with this one, but it's a third-party one, so maybe with an update it might work. Okay, so next we're gonna try the USB arcade stick. So there's no lights on right now. Okay. But it is working. Let me check the screen. Each click on the arcade stick and it's working good. Okay, looks like the red light did come on, I see. If we look down there, it did actually eventually come on. So it just must have took it a while. So the Ps3 Arcade Stick worked fine. No problems there. We're gonna move on to the next one. So let's try the PS4 controller. Plug it in there. Okay. Alright. That is working. plugged in, and if I unplug it, okay, wake it up, yeah, so that does work as well. So as expected, PS3, PS4 controllers hook up really quickly without much effort. So pretty nice and convenient. And finally, let's test it on the Sega Genesis. Now with this console, I'm mostly interested in using the Brook adapter for the arcade stick, mostly because some of these older ones, while they're pretty cool, they don't actually work as accurately for me as I find that this Mayflash arcade stick works. So we're going to test that one first. Let's go ahead and plug that straight into there. And this one doesn't have a switch on it the way that PS2 one did. So they're each a little bit different. Right away that light came on and stayed on. Check it. Yeah. It does work. Okay guys, so one important thing to note with the Genesis controller adapter is that it will automatically go into 3-button mode. And when it goes into 3-button mode, it'll take the first row of buttons, so what's normally square, triangle, that row, it'll turn that into your A, B, and C instead of these bottom ones. And so what you want to do is hold the PlayStation home button along with square for a couple seconds. So we're going to try that real quick. These two right here on this joystick. Okay, yeah, so before the game is loaded, you have to hold down that 6-button mode. So that's a home button and square for a few seconds. And then it will let you use the 6-button mode. So it's a little tricky, but just remember it each time you use it, you'll want to put it on 6-button mode unless you're specifically, some games require 3-button mode, so just be aware of that. So that's a good point to mention, that if you're using something like this, like an 8-bit DOE, it automatically detects if the game is 3-button or 6-button and works for it. But with the Brook, you do need to set it. So I haven't updated the firmware. They might have a newer firmware where you don't have to manually tell it. But right now, the version as it is when I got it out of the box, I do need to make sure to manually switch using that button combination. It's not too complicated, but those are some of the important things to remember from the instructions, is you can switch those analog modes, and you can also switch the way that the controller interfaces with the 6-button or 3-button. So as expected, PS3, PS4 works no problem on this Genesis one as well. But we're going to try this odd one out, the PS3 third-party controller, the clear one. So we're going to plug in the USB dongle here. Okay. Alright, it's recognized. And if we turn this on, okay, looks like it's synced up. So that's working no problem. Yeah. Yep. I won that match one-handed, even. Not bad. So yeah, even this weird third-party controller works fine. So the only one it didn't work with was the PS2 one, and I probably just need to update the firmware, and I'm guessing it will work. Alright, so I'm going to give you my final thoughts on these. I think they're pretty solid devices and very useful to have for each system if you're like me and you want to play with newer arcade sticks and controllers on older systems. One thing I would love to see is one for the 3DO, because 3DO kind of doesn't have a bunch of great controller options, and that would be really nice to have for that system. So I definitely recommend it. And guys, these are all paid for by me. I was not paid to do this review or given these for free. So just to be completely clear, I just wanted to test these out, and I found that they are pretty good. And the fact that they do update the firmware and offer that is a very good plus. One thing I would like to see is maybe expanded functionality, like for the Dreamcast. What about a dual arcade stick mode, like for Virtual On Ontario Tangram? So that game uses a dual arcade stick, very similar to this one, but Dreamcast had one. This is the Saturn dual arcade stick. But you would think that we would be able to add that functionality into this model here. So hopefully that might be a possibility in a future firmware update. Hint, hint. If anybody's out there who's listening who can advise the development team of that, I think it would be a great feature. So they're all a little bit different. You can tell that they have different controller compatibility depending on which one you get. And there's that other Super Nintendo one. So I recommend checking them out. They are pretty worth it as far as I'm concerned. Alright, let me know if you have any questions and I'll try to get back to you. Thanks for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you next time. Take care.